groceries get eaten, get more groceries get eaten, get more groceries get eaten. Groceries get eaten, get more groceries get eaten, get more groceries get eaten by the one we love. When they put their lips around you, you can feel their smile on the inside.
listening to WVTC, Randolph Center, Vermont, student-led radio. In the studio with us today, War Turtles. That was Beach Life in Death, a cover of Car Seat Headrest that they have done. So, what's it like being in a band?
So currently, my experience as a band is finding someone's car to borrow to go to a gig, as I do not drive. Is my friend Joe just kind of messaging me out of nowhere and going, "Hey, I found this place and I have an opening if you want to open for me." And my experience as a band, this would be relieving for me to talk about, is working on a single album for the last 2 years. I'm very excited to have some recent stuff to play, but everything that I have actually released is just like, God, yeah, at this point over a year old. Like, I've included some stuff from a little like live in my room thing that I released because it's genuinely the most like recent stuff that I have, and it's still from last year. Oh, wow, okay, over a year and 1 month ago, I just realized. Yeah, so I have 4.5 hours worth of songs that I am currently working into a single album. I refuse to break it into multiple albums. I've been working on all of this for so long that I feel like Sisyphus just carrying the boulder up the hill, because the boulder just keeps growing, because I have songs that are genuinely like things that I've just come up with since I started recording. And then I'm just still adding to it. I still have, like, I have stuff that I've come up with, like, just drum beats that I recorded, like, last week that I have to, like, come up with new stuff for. And they're, like, 7 minutes long. There's multiple, I'll just say multiple over 15-minute songs. Yeah, it's like, by my estimation, it's gonna be 5 hours long, and I'm hoping by the end of 2022. I genuinely don't even know.
And you're not cutting that down at all?
Oh, no.
Nice.
So, okay, part of the concept for the album is it ties in with a song that I had just an idea for. The song is not written. The song is in the ether. So I had an idea. I'm going to be honest. I believe this was inspired by a Taylor Swift lyric.
That's how all good songs start. For
a song called Never Really Over. Inspired by this 2-hour Bad Omen that I have taken on. The idea is the song is going to be 3 parts, at least 30 minutes long. And every part of the song, when performed live, can be extended as long as I want it to.
What do you mean by Bad Omen?
Like, this album haunts me. Like, I have about 45 songs currently. So I'll just say 45 songs for 4.5 hours. And 16 of those songs have lyrics. The rest of them need lyrics written. I have not lived that much. I'm writing one song at a time here. It's just like every week I go, okay, maybe there's something that can be a song, but then that just like is one like check mark on the prison wall until the end of my sentence, you know? Like in my opinion, this album has like the best stuff that I've ever written. However, sometimes I'm skeptical if it's ever gonna get finished.
You say you have 14 songs finished? Or with lyrics?
With lyrics, not even finished.
Alright. So, next one we have up is the Oblong Box, is that correct?
Yes. So this is one of the songs that I managed to do for a school project. This was actually a 9th grade English project. This was inspired by an Edgar Allan Poe short story called The Oblong Box. We were just supposed to take a Poe short story and either like change the ending or like continue the ending or something like that. And I decided, because my English teacher was actually a drummer, an easy opportunity for me to just fly through it would be to make a song out of it. So I decided to turn it into a little, like, it's a song about a casket on a boat. So it's a little sea shanty tune from my first album. This is the third song that I ever did on computer when I started recording in Ableton.
All right, so we're no longer on your 4-track cassette tape.
Right, yeah.
All right. You want to get into it?
Yes.
All right, so this is The Oblong Box by the War Turtles on WVTC 90.7 FM, Randolph Center, Vermont. We will be right back.
Last night you left me and I don't know what to say. I had them put you in a box and
listening to WVTC 90.7 FM, Randolph, Vermont. Here in the station with us today is the War Turtles. We are very excited to have them. It's been forever since we actually had a band in the studio. Can't get them live. Our prod room is still being set up, but came in showing off their work. So that was the Oblong Box, a Edgar Allan Poe inspired track. I liked it. I thought it was good. I loved the vocals. Like,
thank you.
How'd you get singing? Like, where'd you get into that? What's
so singing is something that I've just always done since I was a little kid. I actually I've been very musical since I was a child. I was obsessed with music just genuinely as a baby. I really liked AC/DC, so much that we had a AC/DC concert video that we had to buy a second time because we watched it so much that the disc started like getting thinner and was unplayable. So after that, they got me guitars and stuff, but like I struggled with like really getting into music directly. I always paid attention to it, and when I got older, I got obsessed with Guitar Hero, and
as we all do.
Yeah, and that was my main like music source for a very long time. I can credit that with kind of shaping what I like to listen to.
Which Guitar Hero? There's a correct answer here.
This better be the correct one. Guitar Hero 3 was the one that I started with, and that was kind of the one that I was the most comfortable with. And then I also did Guitar Hero World Tour, and we ended up just kind of getting most of them. And then I couldn't play any of them because my guitar controller broke.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I still have the games, no way to play them.
That was the correct answer, by the way, just so you know.
Yeah. I also did Rock Band. I really enjoyed singing. And actually, this is a story that my mom very much likes to tell to people. I taught myself how to read using Guitar Hero with singing. I already knew the songs, and so I would just sing them and then match up like what was in my head for the words for what I was seeing on screen. So I picked up like kind of massive words as a child.
That's a good way to learn some vocab.
Yeah, and it frustrated my teachers to no end because I could not like break down words at all. I couldn't do phonetics. Like they would try to get you to sound out words, and I couldn't make sense of it, but they would ask me to say the whole word and I would do it. I would be able to do it just fine. I literally in first grade I tried checking out a Lord of the Rings book from the library, and the librarian held onto it, didn't want to give me it. And only let me take it home when my mom came in later and was like, yeah, he can read that. Yeah, he'll be able to. He might get bored with it, but he can read that. And I got bored with it, but it was not like a difficult thing for me.
How old were you at the time?
First grade. So 6, 7.
Lord of the Rings doesn't hold the attention of a 7-year-old that well.
And I've always struggled with books too. Like music is very easy to me. I can just like it feels like nothing to listen to a song and decide if I like it or not. It feels like it's just too much work to pick up a book for 5 pages to decide if I like it.
But if you can't read through Lord of the Rings, how are you gonna make any 70s fantasy metal?
Right. Yeah. I'm sorely lacking.
How will you be the next Led Zeppelin if you can't make Lord of the Ring references in your tracks?
Yeah, because we need another Led Zeppelin. That's actually an interesting thing to say. I've always struggled with like fantasy type lyrics. Don't read into stuff too much. I don't want to say stuff is autobiographical, but it's a very
you write
much
what you know.
Yeah, it's very much drawn from personal experience. It's very as much as I like very much appreciate a good example is Primus type songwriting. like lyrics wise, where it's just like these characters that come out of nowhere and it's the story. That I can't do that. That just feels like forced if I try to do that. It doesn't feel good.
Yeah, and we don't need another fantasy band.
Yeah.
To be real, we have enough European bands as it is.
Yeah. I feel like in terms of the metal bands talking about dragons and sorcerers, I think we're good on that so far. It's a
we have enough of them.
It's a full market, saturated market.
Saturated enough.
So yeah,
Open Canyon is up next.
Right. I want to mention this is, I believe technically, I don't have critics. I haven't gotten big enough to get critics yet, but according to some fans, it seems to be my most critically acclaimed album.
This is your second album?
I don't like that. I don't think that. Personally, I like my third album much more. That has way more of like a concept and a like much more of a start to beginning arc. Or start to end arc.
The songs flow into each other.
Yeah, and I'll say this kind of has that, but it's more just like insular moments that are connected to each other rather than like the story kind of works together. And also, I'm not. This is before I really started getting smart about like, okay, this is a rough lyric. I don't want to put it out until I know it's a lyric I'm comfortable with. There's some songs I just genuinely like. Wish I had kept to rewrite, but they're out there, and I'm not gonna go like pulling them out of the album. I'm just gonna say go listen to my other albums. I like them more.
You keep your unmixed albums out there, and then you go, I promise it gets better.
Yeah. So I'll say this isn't one of those songs. This is one of the songs that I is one of my favorites.
I hope so. These are what you wanted to play. So.
Right. Yeah.
I hope you like them.
Yeah.
Any stories behind it? Like,
let's so this song, I'll say, oh god, I'm gonna be one of these people that says things like these. I started therapy a couple years ago, and that started to tie into a good portion of my lyrics. Whether it's just like almost directly talking about like my experiences, like talking to my therapist, or just like doing personal work, thinking about myself, whatever. So like
there's a lot of good inspiration.
Yeah, so like there's a handful of songs like these where it's like I don't feel like there's that much of a particular story, but more just like this is one of those songs that's just kind of inspired by my experience, my personal experience dealing with multiple people in general, or just like the people around me. Yeah, not a very specific song.
All right, well, let's get into it then. This is Open Canyon by the War Turtles here at WVTC 90.7 FM. We will be back after Open Canyon. listening to WVTC 90.7 Randolph FM, student-led radio here at Randolph Center. Today with us in the station, War Turtles, showing off some of their work. Always a pleasure to have local bands in here. Been forever since we had one. That was Open Canyon. So when we left, we were talking about inspiration, where you get a lot of your ideas, lived experiences. If it's not too personal, what was Open Canyon about? Like, how did you come up with it?
Right. So it was good that I listened to it, because genuinely, like, these songs are so old, I've slightly forgotten some of them. But yeah, so that was definitely a just about therapy song. I'll just say the skills that you learn in therapy were not particularly ones that I was taught in my life. And so when it came to just like describing what I was feeling, I was awful at it. And so, like, yeah, that was very much just a song about, like, struggling to consistently, like, even just describe what is happening with me.
Open up, describe your emotions.
Yeah. And then, like, I'm gonna say, I don't like, it's a pet peeve of mine when bands just take a song title from the lyrics. It feels lazy to me. Unless it, like, has some relation to, like, the meaning of the song. So this is one of those examples where the song, the title Open Canyon actually just came from how the instrumental sounded before I even wrote lyrics. Because the way that I write music, because of how how lyrics form for me, it's always music first.
Instrumental first, then you layer on.
Like I say, I will at times come up with just, like, lyrics on their own, and I'll, like, store them in my phone. Sometimes when I come up with those, I come up with a melody at the same time. But for the most part, it's always, like, music first. I have something that I feel like I could write lyrics to, and then I either try to come up with something or go searching through my phone for, like, a phrase that would fit the melodies that I have. So yeah, this was one of those songs where, like, if anything, the title did sort of inspire the lyrics a bit, but yeah, it was definitely just based on it, kind of a calling card for how the song sounds.
Very open, a lot of reverb,
right,
like a canyon.
Yeah.
Hence Open Canyon. It kind of worked for the theme of the song as well.
Right. Yeah. So I also, there are multiple artists that have influenced me that I'll just say make it a habit to reference other artists in their music, and so I also like doing that. This next song is one of them. It's called Worms in the Wind Part 2.
I'm not seeing a part 1. You care to explain that?
I did not write part 1. So part 1 never officially got released. Worms in the Wind is a short little, like, 30-second interlude song that the band Neutral Milk Hotel would play live, just kind of to give other musicians a time to tune up. It was just, like, guitar and vocals, and it was always an intro to another song. I sometimes use that song playing live just as a warm-up thing. I did that for years before I wrote this song. And then eventually I had an idea for lyrics due to how this song sounded. The song Worms in the Wind is about if the Earth lost all its gravity, or I'll say slowly started losing all its gravity. The story goes, the things that would start floating first are the worms, because they're the lightest thing they would, and then the houses and all that. So I took that, just kind of that concept, worked it into this song. I talk about the worms in the wind in the chorus, And yeah, I like to play both of the songs together, like when I perform live. But yeah, I've never actually released the original Worms in the Wind, and I did not write it.
So it's kind of like a cover that goes into your own work. That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get into that then. Once again, you're listening to WVTC. We got War Turtles on the station with us today. This is Worms in the Wind, Part 2. No Part 1 for reasons you just heard. We will be right back after this. Once again, you're listening to WVTC 90.7 FM, Randolph Center, student-led radio, etc., etc. We got War Turtles in the station. That was Worms in the Wind, Part 2. And if you're just tuning in, You do not get the explanation of where part 1 was. You should always be tuned in to this station, everyone's favorite station, WVTC. So, next up, we have Awesome War. Care to give a little...
So this song is actually, going back to the whole multiple versions of things. This song is actually I'll just say rearrangement of the very first song, the Awesome marching theme. This is Awesome...
The first one we put.
Yeah, this is Awesome Snowgazer's theme. I figured this would be a good example of how the sound has changed. The last one was on tape, this one's on computer. I'll say the version I play live, I actually now refer to as Awesome Hybrid Theme, because it's kind of halfway in between this newer version and the older version.
So it's kind of like a bit of like a remaster,
right? Yeah,
rewriting.
Yeah, and how this song happened was I started playing something on bass. It was a weird chord progression, and I was just like, this sounds really good, but it also sounds really familiar. And eventually I realized it would, like, I wasn't doing it intentionally, but it was just another way to play the song that I had written. And so I decided that I would record that and just kind of see where that went. I don't know if there will be a third version of this song on the next album. I have not continued the trend of a version of this song being the first song on every album. We'll see if I come up with a new way to do this one. But so far I haven't really.
Well, I for one am interested in seeing what happens with that. So, we'll get right into your other awesome song, Snowgazer's theme. And we'll see where you've gone from your first one. I think it's really cool that you did a remaster of your old work. 2020, it's like 2 years old.
Right, yeah.
Can't wait to get into your most recent album, but without further ado, WVTC 90.7, awesome Snowgazer theme by War Turtles, who are in the studio with us. We'll catch you after. You're listening to WVTC 90.7, etc., etc. We just did that. Just a short little interlude there, a little check of where War Turtles had progressed since their first song. Yeah, it was your first one, right? It was
Yes.
your first ever written song, and you went back to it. Much better mastered, like right off the bat.
Yeah.
Definitely could see where you progressed. I liked it. That was really well done. Up next, we have Rising Waves. which is 12 minutes long, so a little longer than the 2-minute interlude we just had.
Yes.
So I hope there's a story behind a 12-minute song.
Yeah. So the story is it was 2020.
That's a good way to start every story.
Yes. Now that we know what happens in 2020. It was 2020. I was starting to get ambitious. The album that we were actually just playing music from, Pining for the Fjords, was at that time the longest I had spent on a project. Small P's at this point, because I've been working on the current album for 2 years. But at that time, I had spent 6 months on it. That was mostly because a guitar amp broke. And so I just couldn't finish recording until I got it fixed. But while that was happening, I can't just sit around and not do anything. I can't twiddle my thumbs for too long.
Especially during 2020.
Yeah, and I'll say in 2019 is when I started getting into a specific band that became very influential called Swans. And Swans very quickly changed the way that I thought about music, approached music.
I can't say I've ever heard of them. You want to give listeners a little rundown?
Okay. Swans are a band that makes too many types of music. The issue with Swans is that they specialize in, I'll say, semi-extreme forms of music. However, that can be extreme folk music. That doesn't mean metal. So I can recommend my favorite Swans album. I can recommend the top 3. However, you can listen to one and think that you hate them because you haven't listened to any of the others. Essentially, the reason I found Swans so influential is because of, oh god, we're gonna get real hokey here, and in my mom's terms, woo woo.
Little hippie.
Yes. Essentially, the idea of music itself, I'll say, regardless or devoid of religion, as a religious experience. Essentially, it encouraged me to see music as more of kind of a stream of consciousness thing that's always just kind of happening. He also, the man from Swans is named Michael Gira. And another idea that he encouraged for me is that a song is never really done. That's part of why I've redone songs so many times. Every time I play a song live, it's just a chance to kind of give it a different arrangement to me. And
that's always what you should do with live music, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then someone can either go... someone who's used to the album can come to the show and hear something different, or someone can very much like what they hear live and then go listen to the album and find something even more different. So, and another thing about Swans is they've made a habit of long songs, because you can't really have a religious experience in a short amount of time. You can't rush it. And so it's common for Swans to have 10-minute songs, 15-minute songs. Later in their career, it's actually like the man from Swans is almost 70 at this point. They've made a habit for some of their last albums to have a 30-minute song on each album. And it's basically like a new song formed from chopped up bits and pieces of the last 30-minute song. And so this song is 12 minutes. This was my first very intentional attempt to just go, I don't care if I get called out, I'm just gonna go make a Swans type song to kind of get my chops up for writing long songs. So this actually isn't the final form of this song. The album after, like, this is just a single. The album after this, Lightning Forks hit Treetops, is built around a centerpiece called Mega Rising Waves, which is a version of this that's instead of 12 minutes, it's 25. I finished this song and went, okay, well, now I have a song, and now it's 12 minutes, but I immediately felt like I just didn't go as hard with it as I planned. Like, it was a good proof of concept, but it just set me off with, okay, now I know what I really need to do. I figured for time reasons it would not be the best idea to pull out the 25-minute one. Like, nothing changed lyrics-wise. All that changed is slight bits of the arrangement, mostly stuff got extended.
Yeah.
This is one of the first songs where I really started going, I'll just say going ham with layering. Like, this is probably maybe a year and a half after I started recording, and I'll say around 20 layers.
When you really started mixing.
Yeah. When I really started,
You're more comfortable with Ableton, I'm assuming, by this point to do that.
Yeah.
All right, well, should get right into it then. If it's going to be 12 minutes that I can't wait to hear personally here on WVTC 90.7. We'll have to do a bump when we come back, but that's all right. That's what we're here for. So without further ado, Rising Waves by War Turtles here in the studio with us. You're listening to WVTC 90.7 FM, Randolph Center, Vermont, student-led radio, etc., with War Turtles in the studio, except not at the moment. They had to dip out for a second. So we got the boyfriend on the mic.
Hello.
So, what's it like
Dating a celebrity.
dating someone in a band?
Honestly, very fun.
Get right up into the mic.
Very fun, incredible. I've also always had an appreciation for music. Unfortunately, not musically inclined in any talented way. So I just get to experience my gorgeous partner making gorgeous music. And yeah. The War Turtles is back, so I'm gonna go.
All right. Well, we got you on the mic for half a second there.
Yeah.
Woo!
That's about as well as I figured he would do.
We appreciate the effort.
So, I mean, good timing, though, because I will say the next songs are, well, not exactly this next one, but they are about him. I have an album, one I've already mentioned, Lightning Fork's hit Treetops, which is almost entirely about him. There's this song, which is only not about him because it's just like, it's an instrumental and it has some samples. And then Mega Rising Waves, which is the 25-minute version of the 12-minute song you just heard. Which, yeah, was written before I met him. These are all songs that I had from, like, not totally from finishing up the last album, but a little bit, that I didn't have lyrics for. They were all instrumentals. And I was struggling, honestly, for a month. Because I was working on this, or, yeah, not even a month. I'll say 2 weeks I was struggling for what to write about. Because, like, literally the week after I released Pining for the Fjords is when I met my boyfriend. We went to the same high school. He was...
In what high school was that?
So that, shout out to People's Academy.
Shout out to Peoples.
Mooresville.
Employing my parents since the 90s. Thankful for the food they put on my table, personally.
Family Dynasty.
I want to call it a dynasty.
People's Academy Dynasty. So, yeah, I'll say he, I believe, just had like a study hall during that period on our B days. And so he was just kind of standing around like a lost puppy in the library. Very obviously had nothing to do.
Can I just say, as someone who also stood around lost in the library, I remember that.
And we've talked very much about these moments, because as I've been working on this album for 2 years, I've also been dating Jeremy for almost 2 years. Actually, 2 years and 6 days. The 9th of this month is our 2-year anniversary.
Look at you remembering. Let's go. Stand that.
Someone has to. I liked... I know you do, but I like to think I'm on it a little bit more. Yeah, apparently he had I'm putting you on blast. He had a little bit of a crush on me. We were both just like friends of friends. We were both of us were borderline best friends with this one person. And yeah, so we kind of said hi to each other in the hallway once, but I had been pointed out to him as someone he might be interested in, like literally
A year before.
a year before, when he was actually going to the tech center, when he wasn't even at school with me. He got told about me. He saw me when he was in 8th grade and I was in 6th grade, and I did the talent show and won. they all remembered me from that. And yeah, so he was trying not to stare at me. I didn't realize it then. I realize now he was kind of staring at me in the library. But I was going up.
Hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah. But he was the only person that like I felt like talking to at that point. Like that had been like 4 or 5 years into school. I had already like had my opinions about who I'm gonna actually have fun spending time with, and this was a person that I just didn't really know, but knew them enough to talk to them. And yeah, we got along very quickly. We both very obviously had crushes on each other, but weren't sure how to talk about it. Like we started, as friends, we started saying I love you very early. And
As really good friends.
yes.
Yeah.
Just a pair of good friends.
Yeah.
Just real close buds.
Yeah. You know, just buds that watch Ponyo together and cuddle.
Yeah. Good friends.
Yeah. Yeah, so it wasn't very long. Like genuinely, we knew each other. We met right before COVID shut down, like actually going to school. Like we met in March. And then like 2 weeks later, we literally were not going into school physically. Everything was on Zoom. And so it took, like, we kept talking to each other, but it took like 2-ish months until things felt safe enough for us to actually like see each other. And then yeah, after that, it was just very rapidly like, what started it was me writing songs about him. Like, we were just hanging out so much and having a good time, and I was like, it was basically dating, isn't it? And I started writing songs, and then eventually, it wasn't even the first one. The first song that I wrote about him, I just gave it to him and didn't say anything. But the second one, I was like, okay, this one's obvious, so I have to say something about it. And then basically that was like officially the start of our relationship. So unfortunately, this song is not one of those.
Yeah, so this song is Thank God for True Stories?
Yes.
So tell me about this song.
So this is an interesting little piece. This is one of my few times that I've worked with like some sort of like spoken word sample or something like that.
I will say I think this is like one of the few that I looked at before having you in.
Right, yeah. So this is very much inspired, or I mean, that's where the title came from. There's a movie by David Byrne from the Talking Heads from 1986 called True Stories. And that movie is hilarious, and that movie is whack. It's incredibly deadpan, but also incredibly insightful about essentially the growth of the world, and particularly America at that time. It was the mid-'80s, it was the excess time, it was let's put malls everywhere, which all of those malls are now closing.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting to me. It was very hilarious and relatable to me to hear this monologue that occurs, I believe, about 45 minutes into the movie, if I remember correctly, about this town just continually expanding, and these houses, one of the phrases it uses is leapfrogging each other, and how the first people who moved here probably had no idea this was going to happen.
The suburban sprawl.
And it's like, yeah, it's exactly talking about suburbia, and it's really hilarious and beautiful to me, the way that he talks about it with like absolute sincere irony, like no like intended irony. It's all sincere irony, and it's totally like hopeful talk, but with this completely unintended like undercurrent of like cynicism,
which us looking back 40 years later, it was kind of a bubble at the time.
yeah, the weird attitude of like it's all gonna be good things, but like there's kind of like just a vibe to it where it's like they know that it's not as much as they want it to be.
It did not last.
Yeah. And so I took that. I chopped it out of the movie. I recorded it onto a cassette. I'm just going to break the whole thing down. I slowed it down and then recorded it back on a computer. And then I started recording on top of it. I'll say the first... it's like a 4-minute song. The first 2-ish minutes is purely from the movie. And then the music from the movie drops out and it's solely dialogue. And then my own instrumental starts coming in, just kind of blending into it. Yeah, I very much love when I get to do stuff like this. I kind of wish I did more like it. And it just seemed like a perfect like intro to the album.
All right, well, in that case, we'll get into it then. You're listening to WVTC 90.7 Randolph, Vermont FM radio. This is Thank God for True Stories by War Turtles, who are in the station with us, and we're very excited to have them here.
Look at this. Who can say it isn't beautiful? Sky, bricks, who do you think lives there? 4-car garage. Hope, fear, excitement, satisfaction. Now I'm going to give you a clear vista of the edge of the civilized world. You see, it's like a game of leapfrog. These houses, they just keep extending the town out further and further every year. It's kind of weird for the first person that moves into a community like this. I'll bet it is. But it's an imaginary landscape, a place to raise your kids. Of course, nowadays, not everyone's having kids, not with the end of the world coming up and all. I mean, would you? No. Well, not until after tomorrow, after the show, huh? Oh, good morning, boys. Good. How you doing? Working hard, I see. Yes, sir. Little coffee break? It's strange when you look at a field and you say, now I want a bathroom there and a kitchen over here.
listening to WVTC 97.7 FM, Randolph Center, Vermont, student-led radio, etc., etc. With the War Turtles today in the studio. That was Thank God for True Stories. I want to call these things lo-fi nowadays because whenever you have a slowed down track with instrumental over it, there's always an anime girl bracing the cover on YouTube. Yeah. But that very much wasn't, so.
Yeah. Like I would say, I'm definitely inspired by lo-fi aesthetics. I don't shy away from them. It's a very car seat headrest thing. Yeah, like I will say that one definitely, I would call that lo-fi, just because it definitely was pretty crunchy sounding.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with lo-fi. I mean, especially with the tape recording and the slow down, you got that vintage sound in there.
Right. Like that was part of that, like the keyboard part that came in later was actually done with it's a Casio SK1, which is like a really small, honestly kind of crappy like sampling keyboard. Like it's just they sold them to kids, and I got it at like a thrift store for $10 in Maine, and like they sold them to kids, and just like kids would like say fart into it and then just like play it across the keyboard or something like that. But like I've actually used that a couple times. Like you can make some weird sounds because it's just got an awful microphone in it.
Have you ever heard of Pegboard Nerds?
No.
They're a dubstep artist, but their early stuff, they used a lot of like children's toys.
Okay.
And like a lot of, they're Swedish, so that should tell you a lot right there. But a lot of like very old synthesizers and little children's toys. So there is a lot of that room for experimentation with a lot of other, I want to call it like bad, because in music you can never have something bad, you just got to figure out where it works.
Right. Yeah. Like that's that's something that I'll say I try to get things sounding good at the start so that I don't have to deal with weird problems later. But like,
you always want to mix it before you start recording it.
But like guitar is a really good example, because like guitars can sound awful on their own. And then just like because you have like multiple layers of them, or just like because of how the song sounds, like it could just be some like real like the worst like trumpet sounding guitar, but it just works perfectly in the song.
Yeah, that's from personal experience. That's always been my problem as someone who I call my main instrument the guitar.
Right.
And it sounds fine when you're like playing it by itself, and then you record it into the track. It's like, this is just awful. Like it did not fit the way I thought it would. And mixing is wizardry to some extent.
I've had to do a lot specifically with guitars with mic technique. And with drums, I've gone to using just one mic in drums now, but I used to try to like set up two mics and get like some sort of stereo thing going. Did not work well.
It's a struggle, to put it lightly. Anyway, next song up, Un Momento, is that?
So yeah, a little bit of Spanish, Un Momento.
Un Momento.
The full song title is Un Momento, and then in parentheses, Por favor. Basically, it means 1 minute, one more minute. And this is one of the, I'll say, pretty obvious about the boyfriend songs.
So it's a much more personal song.
Yes. Like I basically, it doesn't seem like it when you're looking at the album art and the title, but I basically just call this the love album, because that was your inspiration. You're just swamped by it if you decide to listen to it. So this one, like a lot of these songs specifically are inspired by my early period with him, where we weren't exactly sure that we were dating yet. I think this might be the one that I used to tell you that the songs were about you, right? Jeremy has been my constant like fact checker, because he has about as bad a memory as I do, but we struggle with different things, so we complement each other well.
You share the brain cells.
Yes.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think this was actually like literally how we started dating was he came over to my house. I said, "Hey, I've got something to show you. It's another song." And then like it was just like in the middle of the song, I was just like, and guess what? Yeah, I was like, this song and kind of the last one too. Yeah, they're both about you. And then he was very gay and leaned in for a kiss.
Shout out to homosexuality.
A shout out, always welcome.
Fan favorite here at WVTC.
Of course. And yeah, that was officially just like, okay, we know we both like each other and we're not worried about someone having different feelings. Yeah, I'll say like this is at the end of this album. I started borrowing his dad's drum set. This is before I started doing that, so it's still with the drum machine. But this is one of the ones that I'm kind of the most proud of. This is a real stacked song. I'm excited to do this live and to get it to sound honestly better than the recording.
All right, well, without further ado, let's listen to it then. So this is Un Momento by the War Turtles here in the studio with us today on WVTC 90.7 FM. listening to WVTC 90.7 FM, etc., etc. Student-led radio. With us today are the War Turtles, showing off some of their work. Great to have them here. That was Un Momento, Por Favor. A love song, I would say, right? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Up next, we have I Miss You Drone.
So I'll say this is an example of an instrumental, but I still forced it to be about Jeremy. Because, like, it was written, this was one of the later ones, like, genuinely one of the last, like, compositions for this album. And, yeah, it was, I kind of just wrote it, and felt like, it accurately described the feeling of missing my boyfriend with sound. And, I am just, it's not really a drone song. I like drone music, and I like elements of, I definitely work in elements of drone music, but I definitely tend to use the word drone a little loosely in song titles, because this is not, I wouldn't, like, technically I'd call this ambient, but this is not really an ambient piece. This was I remember this one coming together very quickly, because it's just, if I remember correctly, a bunch of guitars and bass and then, like, one keyboard track. This was very inspired by the band Godspeed You Black Emperor, which are kind of similar to Swans. They're a post-rock band, which is, I'm just gonna call it a different form of progressive rock.
Yeah, like, we keep it real at this station.
Yeah.
We call genres what they are.
So, like, honestly, at this point, like, I would say my music has a lot of elements of post-rock, but there's also, like, so many stuff that would make it definitely not.
Yeah.
So this is, I'll say this is maybe one of my, like the 12 or 25 minute song, this is kind of one of my more post-rock ones. Just a, nice little 7-minute droney instrumental.
All right, well, let's get into it then. You're listening to WVTC 90.7 FM. I Miss You Drone by the War Turtles. And I'll catch you back after this song. You're listening to WVTC 90.7 FM, student-led radio, here with War Turtles in the studio. That was Miss You Drone, an ambient track. I liked it. I've heard a lot of bad ambient music, and that, I'm not going to say, is one of them.
Thank you. It's very easy to make bad ambient music.
As a station who gets a lot of small artists bringing in stuff for us to play, it's a very mixed bag, but I really think you guys do fall into the later category of actual stuff worth putting out there. And I can't name anything on air, but we've had some very interesting stuff put out that we have not aired because we were like, it's not like we don't want to air it, we just don't want to listen to it during a show.
Right.
Next up is Old Man Improv, and there's a part 1 and 2, I believe.
Yes. So this is actually a short segment of me and actually my boyfriend's father, who is a musician.
Is he the titular old man?
Yes. I don't even know if he's 50 at this point. Is he? He's not even 50, but he's old enough. He's got gray hair. He's bald. He's got a gray beard, not gray hair. Sorry. So this is he is a musician. He is kind of honestly very similar to me, except if I started doing music older. So he's a similar multi-instrumentalist. I've actually he has paid me to tutor him with teaching Ableton. With how to record with Ableton and stuff.
He pays me these days with your Ableton.
Yeah.
Back in my day, we had the 4-track cassette recorder.
Yeah. And so, he's just kind of multi-instrumentalist. He was in a band in the 90s. We gotta give multiple bands, but this is the one that I know about that got stuff released. They were from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. They were called Crop Circle. And they were, I believe, active around 1996, 97. Harrisburg, not Philadelphia. Pennsylvania. I've never visited Pennsylvania, so it's all just one big blob to me. I'm
not convinced that Pennsylvania's real. Just gonna put that out there. Here at WVTC, we hold the opinion that anything outside of Vermont does not exist. In New Hampshire is just the dark world reflection of us.
Yes. That's why it's upside down.
Yeah. Why would it be upside down if it wasn't the dark world reflection of Vermont?
Yeah. Try going there. You can't.
You can't. You loop back around to Lake Champlain.
Yeah. It's like when you the flat Earth theory. You reach the end of the Earth, you just fall off and then come back around.
And you land
the other
back on the other side of Vermont. You have to do some dark ritual to get to New Hampshire, and quite frankly, I don't care to learn.
Yeah. It's not. It welcomes. It welcomes pain. It welcomes the unnice spirits, I believe.
The unwanted ones.
So this is a wholesome Vermont jam. Purely Vermont jam. He's been living in Vermont for 16 years. Hey, I got that one. And yeah, so he's on drums on this one, but he also does guitar and some light singing and drums, and his main one is bass. He's on drums, I'm on guitar. Everything here is improvised. This is just us messing around. Jeremy happened to record it on his phone, or actually my phone, and I thought it was good enough to upload. We just happened to come up with something decent enough. It's in 2 parts because the something just happened with the video and it got stopped halfway through. So it's the same jam, but just kind of 2 different moments in it.
All right, I'll fade out and then fade back into the second part then.
Yeah. They actually, I'm very obsessive about these things. They fade on their own.
Okay, you have touched an old radio host's heart.
Yes.
And by old, I mean I'm 21, but the school has put years on me.
Old enough to know better.
All right, well, without further ado, let's get into this improv jam. Old Man, Part 1 and then Part 2, coming right after it here on WVTC 90.7 FM, Randolph Center, Student Led Radio, etc., etc. Time is 4:30. Hope you're having a good day. We sure are here with War Turtles in the station. Hope you like listening to them just as much as we like having them here. And yeah, let's get into it. That was Old Man Jam, Part 1 and 2 by the War Turtles here at WVTC 90.7. Little improv session that they did, and it's a pleasure to hear it. Up next, we have Coming Up Soon. So this isn't actually on your SoundCloud, so
Right.
tell us, the listener, me, etc., about it.
This is from an album called Fake Acoustic Live, specifically from April 1st, 2021. Basically, because I like recording myself, I like giving myself practice, and I also just need to practice for shows. I have a bit of a setup for just kind of performing in my room, you know. I mean, it's literally just two microphones. I can put one on my voice and then one on guitar. And so every now and then when I'm just trying to prepare, or this was actually because I hadn't had a show in a while, and I just like wanted to give myself that sort of pressure so that I would be prepared when I did have shows. So this is a mix of covers and some original stuff. It was actually recorded at about 2 or 3 a.m. So it doesn't feature your standard belting vocals. I'm trying to keep quiet and not upset the people that I'm living with. The first song is a cover. This is a song by Makeout Videotape, which is Mac DeMarco's old band. This is one that these are all sort of standards for me. These are stuff that I'm used to playing live. Yeah,
It's your live shows that you've recorded and put them as an album.
right. Yeah. This is all just from one night when I had picked out these songs to play in my room.
All right.
And then
They don't call it bedroom production for no reason.
Right. Yeah. It went well enough to actually release them.
All right. Well, we're going to go through the full thing here as our closing. So that's coming up soon. Hymn for the People and Blood Hail excerpt. And then we'll do some final questions, have you do some plugs, and then we'll wrap up the show. Yep. So, I hope you've enjoyed the show so far. I've enjoyed doing it. So, remember, you're listening to WVTC 90.7 FM. This is Fake Acoustics Live by the War Turtles, and this is coming up soon.
Whoa.
You're listening to WVTC 90.7 FM Randolph Center student-led radio. That is the conclusion of our show with the War Turtles here today. I hope you had a blast being here, because I had a blast having you here.
Yeah, definitely.
And I hope the listeners had a blast listening, because I liked your stuff. It was good. Like, I can't say much more than it was actually good rock. Like, it's nice to have actual talent come in here who lives in the area, and you know, when you get your next stuff out, you should reach out again. We'd love to have you back.
Right, yeah.
Where can our listeners find you?
So my main place is Bandcamp, because Bandcamp lets you upload as much as you want for free. However, I'm also available on YouTube for the same reason. And then, slightly less important, but still there is SoundCloud, which does not have everything that I've released, but it has my 3 main albums. I'm working on populating a Redbubble page with merch. I currently do not have merch outside of handmade CDs and cassettes that I sell at shows.
And where do you do shows?
When I do shows, sometimes it's just random open mic nights around Vermont. A lot of times where you see the man Joe Spears and his act, he has various acts, Joe Cool, Joe whatever, Joe Spears. He tends to invite me to play with him. He plays every Sunday at the River Arts Center, or every second Sunday of every month at the River Arts Center in Mooresville. I should be at the next one coming up in June. We're not doing one this month because the second Sunday is Mother's Day. So we will be waiting until June. He's also been getting me shows at Tacos and Taps in Mooresville. Yeah, thewarturtles.bandcamp, and then YouTube.
Any socials?
Not exactly. I will say I have a War Turtles Twitter, and I debate deleting it every day because I do not like Twitter.
Fair.
But I do have 2 the War Turtles Instagrams, both the War Turtles and the War Turtles Band, because I didn't want anyone taking those. And then my personal is just Robert Rosignol. I'm easy to find if you can spell my name right. It's like the skis.
Robert Rosignol's like the skis?
Yes.
All right.
We don't have any of the money though. I don't actually have ties to that empire.
No Rosignol fortune.
Yeah, unfortunately.
All right. Well, it's almost 5 o'clock. Gonna switch back over to automation. Any closing remarks? It was great to have you here.
Yeah. There's a couple people I can give some shout outs to. Lewis Weller, Lou Weller, that's my boyfriend's dad. That's the man that was on, that's the old man.
The titular old man from the Old Man Improv.
Yes. And then Joe Spears, 6th grade PA science teacher. He's still doing it, but also just musician extraordinaire. I myself am the War Turtles. Shout out to my boyfriend Jeremy for inspiring half my songs, and also being my ride here.
Shout out to the ride.
We'd be doing a radio interview over Zoom if it weren't for him. And yeah, God bless.
All right. Well, that concludes our show. You've been listening to WVTC. I, as always, am the titular rat who lives under the Maury basement, vice president to WVTC. And we hope you've had a good time. We will be switching right over back to automation. Have a good Tuesday and the rest of your week if we do not catch you then. And that's me signing off. And signing off as well,
The War Turtles.
It's great to have you here. Great to always have a local artist. And here's automation.